For the last couple of years, we have heard absolutely endless hype about how artificial intelligence is going to completely upend academic research. It's everywhere, right? But honestly, until now, we've been operating mostly on anecdotes and guesswork. Well, we finally have the data. In today's explainer, we are going to overview a fascinating new research paper and survey straight from Anthropic, where they polled over 1,000 quantitative social scientists. We're going to unpack how AI is actually changing the highest levels of academic research. And spoiler alert, the reality on the ground is far more surprising and a whole lot more nuanced than the hype would have you believe. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll be looking at the rise of the coding agent, the uneven adoption divide, why researchers are coding data instead of writing papers, the big question of productivity, and finally, the future of the field. Let's jump right in. Section 1. The rise of the coding agent and how we are moving way beyond the standard chatbot.
There is a massive shift happening right now in the human sciences. Core, fundamental research tasks are literally being handed off to machines. Now, we aren't just talking about your standard conversational AI chatbot where you type a question and get a text response. We're talking about a coding agent. Tools like Claude Code or Codex. These are autonomous systems. They can take a raw research idea and a data set, write the analysis code, run it, look at the output, fix their own errors, and iterate all by themselves. What used to be an irreducibly human step in empirical research, spending weeks just writing code, is now something you can automate. It is a totally different paradigm.
And you know, there is massive curiosity about this in the academic community. The Anthropic survey looked at 1,260 quantitative social scientists, and an overwhelming 81% of them have tried using standard AI chatbots to aid their research process. That is a huge baseline of engagement. Basically, everyone is taking it for a test drive. But wait until you see how this changes when we talk about actual, daily adoption of those more advanced agents. 20%. That's the crucial number to remember here. Despite that massive 81% curiosity rate, only a mere 20% of these researchers have actually adopted autonomous coding agents into their regular, weekly workflow. So while everyone is playing around with AI, only 1 in 5 scientists are actually integrating these powerful, autonomous coding agents into their daily grind. Which brings us to Section 2, the uneven adoption divide. Who exactly is actually using this AI? If only 20% are using these tools regularly, who makes up that group? Well, there is steep variation across different fields. Economists are absolutely leading the charge here, with a 39% adoption rate for coding agents. Political science follows up at 25%. But then, look at the other end of the spectrum. Disciplines like public health and education are sitting way down in the single digits, but around 6% and 4%. So, the type of science you do drastically impacts how quickly you're handing your tasks over to AI. But you know, it's not just what you study, it's where you are in your career. Adoption is heavily driven by junior researchers. Doctoral students and postdocs are adopting coding agents at more than double the rate of tenured professors. And if you think about it, this makes total sense, right? Junior researchers are generally more technologically fluent. They are the ones down in the trenches working directly with the messy code and data. And frankly, they're the ones facing that intense publish or perish career pressure to produce a higher volume of research. This survey also neutrally reports some pretty significant statistical disparities when it comes to early adoption demographics. The data shows that researchers with typically male names have adopted coding agents at more than twice the rate of respondents with typically female names. Furthermore, researchers at top 25 or private universities are about 40% more likely to use these coding agents compared to those at other universities. So, at least in this early stage, access and adoption are sharply uneven across the board. Moving right along to Section 3, coding data, not writing papers. Let's bust the infamous AI slop myth. There is this really widespread fear right now that AI is simply churning out fully automated, low-quality, hallucinated written papers, what people online are calling AI slop. But the actual data tells a completely different story. An overwhelming 97% of coding agent users are using the tool to generate code. They are crunching numbers. Meanwhile, only a third of all AI users are actually using it to draft prose from scratch. They'll use it to edit existing text moderately, sure, but drafting the actual meat of the paper, that is not the primary use case at all. This totally busts the myth of the automated AI paper factory. In fact, the report explicitly states the most common use is for coding up analysis of quantitative data. The current reality of AI in the social sciences isn't about AI hallucinating fake literature reviews. It's all about data processing. It's about iterating statistical models, interpreting complex output, and just speeding up the math. Section 4. Does it boost productivity?
Here's where we hit the pipeline disconnect.
This brings us to the absolutely critical question driving this entire Anthropic overview. Does handing off these analytical tasks actually make researchers more productive? Well, there is a massive disconnect in the research pipeline. In the early stages, coding agent users are crushing it. They are self-reporting up to a 75% increase in working papers posted, they're starting way more projects, and they're submitting more grants. But check out the late pipeline output. Journal submissions and resubmissions remain completely flat, zero increase. So they are starting projects incredibly fast, but they aren't necessarily finishing them any faster.
So, why is this bottleneck happening? The researchers outlined 3 potential theories. Number 1, it might just be too early to tell. Academic publishing takes a notoriously long time, and these coding agents are still brand new. Number 2, agents might just struggle with the last mile of perfecting a paper. They are incredible for getting a project off the ground, but they haven't proven they can push a highly nuanced paper across the final finish line of peer review. And number 3, we have to consider that these early adopters might just naturally be highly productive people who start a ton of projects anyway.
Section 5. The future of the field. Let's look at the clash between optimism and pessimism. The introduction of these tools is creating this profound psychological tension within the scientific community itself. When researchers were asked about their own personal paper productivity, there was super high optimism. 88% rated it highly. They firmly believe AI will help them write more and better papers. But when you ask those exact same people about the impact on the social sciences overall, 70% are pessimistic. It's this fascinating human contradiction, right? Hey, it's going to be amazing for my career, but it's probably going to ruin the field for everyone else.
And what exactly are they so afraid of? The survey neutrally outlines some really interesting core anxieties. Researchers fear a heavily congested peer review system, because if everyone can produce working papers 75% faster, human reviewers are going to be completely overwhelmed. They fear increased competition for attention in a flooded market. They also worry AI might exacerbate selective reporting, making it incredibly easy to just mine data until you finally hit a significant results. And finally, there's a big fear of risk-averse incremental research. Basically, the fear that AI just helps us do the exact same basic studies, just faster, rather than actually pushing true scientific boundaries.
But regardless of those fears, the overarching takeaway from this overview of the Anthropic survey is crystal clear. The human sciences are irreversibly shifting. The genie is out of the bottle. AI coding agents are undeniably diffusing into academic research. They are no longer just some sci-fi concept. They are right now, as we speak, changing how we study the economy, politics, and society from the ground up, starting with those early career researchers and rippling outwards.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to ponder today. As these autonomous coding agents make data analysis cheaper, faster, and much more plentiful, does faster research actually mean better science? Does accelerating the sheer speed of discovery automatically improve our collective understanding of the world, or does it just create a whole lot more noise? It's something the entire scientific community is going to have to figure out, and they're going to have to do it quickly. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the data.